Welcome everyone, glad you made it while it's snowing outside. We are in extraordinary times, as you're sensing already. And believe it or not, it's about to get even more extraordinary. Wow, this Piscean portal is now really opened wide. And with the sun entering Pisces on Tuesday, it's about to open even wider and deeper, become more magically profound and ecstatic for those who are masters of vertical alignment. Does anyone know what I mean by vertical alignment?
No.
Okay. The Piscean portal is quite determined to get us vertically aligned. And what I mean by that is your spirit actually turning vertical through the crown chakra to listen to the direction of a higher power, a more intelligent, conscious, and purposeful state of being, through which then you gain access to your immortal soul. The body-mind, connected with our physical incarnation, is what's associated with what I call horizontal alignment. When we're dominated by the body-soul, we tend to have our focus directed out toward the horizontal experience of our life in the physical world. Because our body-soul is aware of his or her own mortality, his or her purpose is to ensure its own safety, survival, and protection. So when we find ourselves locked into horizontal focus, we can become enmeshed in the body-soul's purpose and intent. And the vertical alignment then is lost and overwhelmed by the body-soul's focus into the horizontal world. So when you find yourself challenged in this world, in horizontal alignment, the practice then is to go vertical, become aware of and conscious of the greater purpose of your life moving through the spirit, the immortal soul, and the alignment of your soul with the greater intention for which your life is then unfolding with great ecstatic awareness and inspiration. When you're inspired, you're breathing in the spirit. You're breathing through the central core of your being and become aware of the greater purpose for which you were born. The reason I'm spending some time with this is because the Piscean portal is the medicine of vertical alignment. And as you become vertically aligned, those of you who have mastered the art of tuning into the soul star, the eighth chakra above your head, through the crown, become aware of these greater intelligences working through your life in a wondrous, magical, and unexpected way. So this has been the opportunity since 2012, with Pisces having entered her own sign, and I use the word her purposefully, since for the 165-year phase of this spiritual and white enlightenment that's been now unfolding ever since that time. So when a higher celestial enters a particular field or domain of consciousness, the personal planets then, from Mars inward toward the Sun, anchor that greater potential into our personal lives. So this Mercury now in Pisces for the next 2 months through April 15th, the personal awareness of our conscious mind, turning vertical to become aware of the dream time of the greater imaginal worlds that move through our own awareness to be manifest and harnessed in this world as ecstatic consciousness. Those who are locked into horizontal awareness may feel somewhat disoriented because Mercury in Pisces it is a sign that he is not totally comfortable with until he becomes vertically aligned and becomes a channel or conduit through which the spirit can then move. Mercury in Pisces at his highest octave is the voice of the spirit. The dreamtime awareness through which then you become aware of how the greater purpose of your life is being manifest in this world in a conscious and purposeful way. Piscean awareness is often translated in quite a dreamy or imaginal way. The dream time itself, the dream world, is quite active at this time. So many may be feeling like they're walking between the worlds. And this world in the horizontal is just a dream. It's not quite real. Where can I find solid ground within this imaginal world? Through which then my personal destiny is then realized and expressed. So what I found with Mercury in Pisces, or any Piscean portal, is that the universe or the spirit is speaking to us constantly through omens, through gestures of the spirit. These can be small or large, and we can either walk right by them, or we can become aware that the spirit is impressing itself upon us. Many times it will be through a seemingly inconsequential event repeating 2 or 3 times, and then your conscious awareness then becomes focused on this synchronicity. The 1111 appearing in your clock radio, and these gestures of the spirit, or omens, are then to be interpreted as you would a dream. If you saw this particular event occurring in a dream, you'd say, "Oh, wait a minute, this is a symbol of something. The spirit is attempting to speak to me through this synchronous series of events in a symbolic way, in a deeper way." And if you pay attention to shifting into dreamtime consciousness, then the hidden meaning of that gesture then becomes clear to you, or tangible. So as the sun enters Pisces shortly, the awareness of the immortal soul, the immortal aspect of ourselves, becomes even more tangible. So we have the full moon occurring on Monday evening, or Monday night, actually Tuesday morning. So all night Monday night we'll have the full moon. And on the 18th, the day that the sun enters Pisces, Chiron also enters Aries, Venus conjunct Saturn, and Mercury, having already entered Pisces, reaches Neptune for the first time. And then through that third week of February, Mercury will then continue to advance until it squares Jupiter. I've spoken about the Jupiter square Neptune hammer of Thor through Varuna and Leo in my other talks, and this particular hammer of Thor accentuating the awakening of the firelight within Leo will be emphasized then as we find these personal planets, the Sun and Mercury, activating Neptune and then Jupiter through the third week, this coming week of February. And then as we are mostly aware, many of us are aware, then Mercury goes retrograde on March 5th, and we'll then backtrack again to conjunct Neptune at the end of March. Mercury conjuncts Neptune on March 24th, goes direct on the 28th of March, and then we'll go forward to conjunct Neptune on the 2nd of April. So this basically is saying that Mercury will be stationing or sitting right on Neptune, that Mercury-Neptune conjunction, through the end of March into early April. And then within that window also, then Venus enters Pisces on March 26th, also deepening contact with the ecstatic. So I'm going through the details of this to give you a kind of a sense of the depth and width of this opening to the higher power and ecstatic consciousness, so that you become what many have called dream walkers. You become a tangible manifestation of the greater purpose that's pouring out from the source, the love that we are, tangibly in this world, and learn how to speak the language of the dream time, the language of the ecstatic, in deep compassion and awareness of the greater purpose for which others may be suffering, and through that suffering then turn vertical. I've spoken many times about the trick of the spirit, that the medicine of suffering. And as Chiron enters Aries, he himself is the key through which we learn to bond compassionately to others through sharing their suffering. Chiron has spent the last 8 years in Pisces, so we've been learning about this vertical alignment for the last 8 years. And then when our suffering reaches a certain critical juncture, we've hopefully learned to go vertical and to recognize that there's a medicine here, a greater purpose, an opportunity, a gift hidden within our suffering that requires or suggests that we need to talk to the higher power and understand the medicine being given. When you break through, you realize that what had appeared to be a wrong turn in the road was actually guided or directed by the Spirit as an opportunity to advance your compassion and powers of healing within you, so that you then become bonded to others who may have shared in that same suffering and have a deep understanding of the nature of the victory achieved when compassion is realized and the gift understood. So rather than challenges, I like to reframe them as opportunities. A challenge once realized or met then becomes an opportunity to broaden the depth of your own healing abilities and power, being connected to the immortal aspect of yourself, your immortal soul. So Chiron entered Aries in April of last year, briefly, for a few months. And then following in May of 2018, Uranus entered Taurus. So these two major celestials changed sign within a month of each other. And Chiron is it's a comet, actually. And its orbit, much like a comet, is very eccentric. It takes it all the way out to the edges of the Uranus orbit. And currently, Chiron is near aphelion. In other words, he's at its farthest distance from the Sun, reaching aphelion in 2022, which means that he is within the orbital range of Uranus. So his medicine has a very distinctly Uranian flavor. So as Uranus is changing sign and Chiron is changing sign, they are linked to one another. The last time Chiron was within the orbital plane of Uranus was from 1965 to 1975. Uranus, as we may know, is the awakener, connected with a revolution in consciousness. So Chiron was picking up the Uranian revolutionary opportunity to advance radical authenticity, being in Aries from 1960 to 69, and Chiron's about to enter Aries on the 18th, making its full entrance into Aries, beginning a whole new 51-year cycle of the first phase of which is reclaiming radical authenticity. And interestingly enough, a month later, as occurred in April and May of 2018, in March then, Uranus enters Taurus. Uranus entering Taurus is a fascinating window to the radical awakening of our relationship to our mortal bodies, to our incarnational experience. Uranus in Taurus is kind of summed up with the phrase, the New Green Deal, the Green New Deal. Are you aware of this new phrase that's been introduced into modern politics? The Green New Deal, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez introduced it.
No.
Yeah, well, I'm not a political animal, but I watch these symbolic opportunities arise in the collective consciousness. She's considered a far-left liberal, but she's like spearheading this whole idea of an ecological revolution. Taurus ecological, Uranus revolution. Summed up in the phrase, the Green New Deal. And she's part of this whole new batch of young women who've been elected to the House of Representatives, who are really attempting to radicalize our awareness of what's required to come into the next phase of human evolution. So Uranus and Taurus, one phrase would be the Green New Deal. Now, for those who are history buffs, when was the New Deal actually implemented? FDR? Anybody know who FDR is?
Yeah.
It was also, since Uranus is an 84-year cycle, Uranus was in Taurus during that time, and it was a radical distribution of wealth, redistribution to the people. Uranus is the people, Taurus is our wealth and our income. So the Green New Deal is the next phase of that, of the radical redistribution of wealth in harmony with the natural environment around us, and with the joy of gifting one another, so that we can enjoy embodiment, the experience of being here, as we did in the 60s, when Chiron was when Aries, and into the 80s when Chiron entered Taurus. So we are on the verge of a radical awakening that will leave us kind of surprised by the unexpected opportunities presented to us to come together in a new way, in a way that we have not been able to imagine in the past. Just like in the 60s, this whole revolution just kind of surprised us all, and we entered the unimaginable. So did anyone have really radical things happen, like from May to June to July of last year, that completely surprised you? I certainly did. And
From May?
yeah, from May, June, July, the whole summer. But I was kind of like someone just parachuted out of the sky and just completely turned my life upside down. And as a result, I gained a deeper experience of my own beauty and value, which is the nature of Taurus, ruled by Venus. So when Venus enters Pisces at the Venus enters Pisces, yeah, at the end of March. The Sun will already be into Aries, but the Mercury portal in Pisces, activating Neptune, will still be very active and pronounced. And since Uranus shifts into Taurus on March 6th, the very same day that the Sun conjuncts Neptune, here we go again, We have these really powerful dates of the 18th and the 6th with a new moon.
That March?
March 6th, yeah. We have a new moon in Pisces. Uranus enters Taurus, and the Sun conjuncts Neptune. So this new moon will be right on Neptune, really opening up the portal wide and deep even further. So we're entering quite a magical time, and if that weren't enough, in the chart of California, every state has an astrological chart. It can be considered a living being. California has a Uranus-Pluto conjunction at 29 degrees of Aries. So as Chiron enters Aries, over the next 8 years, we can watch California becoming another shining light in demonstrating radical authenticity. And who was just elected as the Speaker of the House? Nancy Pelosi, regardless of what you think about her. She's a San Franciscan. And there are others in California who are now stepping up to the plate to become examples or firebrands of this new stage or phase of Chiron and Aries over the next 8 years. She's also a Sun in Aries. Stepping forward without any qualms to challenge the status quo, because Aries squares Capricorn. Capricorn being associated with the established collective sorcery of the order, the present order. And as you also know, Saturn and Pluto are in Capricorn. Saturn will be transiting back and forth over the south node of Pluto. Pluto's already transited over the south node of Pluto last year. Saturn will be doing so 3 times throughout the year, its ruler. And the south node of Pluto was very active during the founding of the United States of America, particularly just leading up to the revolution. And the south node is connected with our collective history. Capricorn can be associated with the collective history of civilization itself, particularly that phase of history that has been patriarchally dominated. So the south node of Pluto, with Pluto transiting over it, tends to bring the pressure or dominance of the established order to its maximum power, which can be experienced as an overly heavily burden on your personal expression. If we go back to the founding of the America, it was the king and his taxes that became so overwhelmingly burdensome that the revolution was sparked, and the right to express oneself, Aries, became foundational in the Bill of Rights, with each individual, Aries, having rights to pursue their own happiness, which were all Mars and Aries themes. So this overly burdensome bureaucracy that has made its impression upon our personal lives and challenged us in our personal expression is reaching a critical point. Now, interestingly also, as an archetypal representative of that collective rebellion against the established order, who would be an example of that? Donald Trump, right? Okay. So many times the shadow aspect of a particular opportunity will manifest first. So we see how not to express our own personal desire without any filter, which Arians can be very famous for. He's not an Arian, but he's definitely got that Aryan quality. He's got Mars on his ascendant, which rules Aries. We can see how that archetype, that energy of just breaking the rules and just being himself is being demonstrated as an opportunity for others to rally around. You can see why some people are very attracted to his energy, because he does break the rules. He doesn't care about the status quo. He just does what he wants. So how does this translate personally to you as individuals? You may find yourself just really reclaiming or recommitting to being authentic and having the courage, Mars, to express yourself and your desire to have your own personal needs met. So as Chiron enters Aries for the next 8 years, this will be, as it was called in the 60s and 70s, the me generation. And what does the me generation summarize? It's just saying, I need to be myself, I need to be authentic, and come out of the shadows and express myself, reveal myself, and allow myself to be me without needing to justify or explain myself to others. So we're on the verge of a quite profound shift here through the beginning of March, and it may take a couple of months into April and May for the full impact of the nature of this shift to really become known and get underway. So I mentioned Venus entering Pisces. She will then take over where Mercury was about to leave off. Mercury will enter Aries on April 16th. And then Jupiter goes retrograde on the 10th of April, and Venus will conjunct Neptune on April 9th. So we have this really beautiful ecstatic window through the second through the first part of April, really becoming aware of how loved we are, how the nature of the universe and life itself is being guided by a level and awareness of love that we normally aren't fully conscious of. But then through our diving deeper into vertical alignment, becoming aware of particularly the angelic realms, we then gain a deeper understanding of how even that which seems to be off the rails has an opportunity for ourselves to deepen our love and compassion. Where we had not been able to witness love before, we witnessed love. We witnessed an intelligence and directed quality of love that we hadn't known or understood before. Love for most people is yin in nature. Does everyone understand what yin is? It's very open and receptive, soft, allowing, embracing. But love itself, from my experience in the higher aspects, has a yang aspect, which is the commanding power of love to move the universe, to bring entire worlds into being. And it's very focused and purposeful. In the higher initiations of love, there's a certain yang aspect to it, where you become commanding with the power of love as a directing force. So this, to me, is the opportunity of this Piscean portal. The yin aspect opens the door to ecstatic consciousness, and then the yang aspect, in its higher aspect, actually empowers that love to become a tangible, moving force in the world to effect a transformation in your own heart and the hearts of others. The yang aspect of love can look like its opposite sometimes. Because it is so commanding, it can be ferocious. Watch a mother defending her children. That's the yang aspect of love. So don't be surprised if you get called to be a little more courageous and commanding and particularly with this hammer of Thor through the sign of Leo, that's our finding our roar when it's appropriate to make ourselves known and just declare healthy boundaries. Any questions or comments at this point? Well, have I gotten you all speechless?
Not in our minds.
Okay. Are we doing okay on time? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got 35 minutes left.
So Saturn, conjunct to the south node of Pluto, as I mentioned earlier. If we go back to the last major conjunction of these outer planets, we go back to 1993 with Uranus conjuncting Neptune in late Capricorn. 1992-1993 was a very important juncture in human history. Anyone aware of what happened at that time? Wasn't it the dissolution of the Soviet Union? 1992. From 89 to 93, Saturn conjuncted Uranus and then Neptune. And then Uranus conjuncted Neptune in 1993 through that entire period. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. The Soviet Union dissolved. What was the consequence of that dissolution? The United States of America became the sole superpower of the world. I've spoken about cultural sorcery in my other talks, and the Cold War was a contest between which cultural sorcery would become dominant in the world as an ideal to aspire to. And the American ideal, the cultural sorcery inherent in the American dream, became the dominant factor to inspire other nations to model themselves after, as a means to which to achieve the greater destiny of their own peoples. So from that point onward, in Capricorn, that was a model that was designed to offer the human race the opportunity to achieve their highest integrated potential, Neptune and Uranus, to realize their dreams of establishing themselves as a meaningful member of their societies. The American dream was inherent within it was that you can become anything you want to be. You can be respected, admired, by taking your place as a respected member of society, regardless of your station in life, the station in life in which you were born into. So since that time, the United States of America has had the opportunity to demonstrate whether that particular American dream had substantial reality, and that it offered, in fact, that opportunity for individuals to become all that they can be. Now, Pluto, having transited over that Uranus-Neptune conjunction of 1993, has been bringing the dark side of that American dream out into the open. that the king is not wearing any clothes, and who's been demonstrating that pretty clearly is, and also rebelling against it at the same time, without having any clue as to what he's actually doing. You know, but he's, you know, but there's something about him that the Spirit chose to demonstrate the culmination of the material age, with the last Jupiter and Saturn conjunctions in the Earth signs completing by 2021. So Saturn, now the ruler of Capricorn, going back and forth over that Uranus-Neptune conjunction, the full weight of that superpower nature of the American dream is coming home to roost, and we're having a clear understanding of the pressure that we've all been functioning under in order to break the spell of this current dominant cultural American dream. So once a particular cultural spell has reached its climax, which is about to do, not just for America but worldwide, then it opens the door for a revolution to occur. This isn't necessarily a physical revolution, it's a revolution in consciousness. The American Constitution was a document related to a new way of thinking about ourselves, a new level of consciousness in relationship to one another. And that through that new or higher state of consciousness, and if we set that as our goal, we could organize or create or invent a new model of civilization that would be in alignment with that new level of consciousness. So the first to emerge is the consciousness, or the awareness of the goal. And then once that consciousness becomes solidified, then the means through which to achieve that goal then is experimented with. We create tangible experimental models through which that goal of consciousness can then be achieved in relationship to our society. And a new cultural model begins to emerge collectively and around the world as an opportunity for the human race to advance to its next stage of evolution. The actual Constitution was created with Pluto in Aquarius, and Pluto will enter Aquarius in the mid to late 20s. So we're on the verge of that also beginning to emerge. Uranus and Taurus. Now, the Green New Deal may become a mantra for the theme that we all, as a collective, as a human race, can then gather ourselves around or focus upon. So that just as what was it, Bolivia was one of the first nations in the world to include the Earth as a living being who had rights. That kind of was like a signal of the direction that may be unfolding as we get into the next stage of our evolution and come full circle from the foundation upon which thousands of years of human civilization has been built, actually then being rewritten. And with the Earth and the indigenous peoples of the Earth finally having a voice and being looked to as important members of our society, not just as equals, but as elders and guidance counselors for remodeling the next phase of human evolution in alignment with the natural world around us. Now, it's interesting, and I'll finish on this. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez introduced this concept of the Green New Deal. Does anything... Now, this is one of these little gestures of the spirit that I was talking about. Does the name Cortez strike a bell?
Is she from Mexico?
I guess so, but who was, what is that? If you go back into history, what does Cortez represent?
Conquering.
Yeah, he was the first wave of genocide.
Mm-hmm.
He was the spark of the first wave of genocide against the indigenous people.
Oh.
See, that's what I'm talking about when you pick up on a gesture of the spirit and you look a little deeper into it. Whoa, okay, this is going to be the practice for the next 2 months. So here we have a young female, first of all, Alexandria, Alexander. That's also another one, another example of the imposition upon the indigenous people. But reversing that whole archetype and saying, okay, this is what was set in motion, and this is the healing for it. This is the opportunity, anyway, for the healing of that particular miasma that was set in motion unwittingly in the history of the doctrine of discovery that the popes embraced in subduing and not acknowledging the indigenous peoples, and the indigenous peoples themselves being representative of what? Harmonious relationship to the natural world around them, right? Okay, so we go dive a little deeper. So this is the first signal for me of this Uranus and Taurus phase that will be unfolding for the next 8 years, of the opportunity being presented. The celestials don't make things happen; they only offer opportunities. So what we do with them is up to us. But it's quite a profound time we're in for February through March, and especially into April, as this new wave really begins to present itself big time. So I had no idea where we were going to go tonight, but I guess we had a wild ride. So are there any comments or questions at this point? Everyone's stunned. Okay, well, go ahead.
I'm going to ask you a question. Don't correct me. Now, is Saturn the one that has the ring that gives us the boundary or like the will to keep us contained?
Yes, the boundary of the known.
Okay.
Because Saturn is the last planet we can generally see with our physical eyes. So the symbolism of that is that he is the outer boundary of the known.
Okay.
Okay.
So going to that vertical with the angelic realm,
Mm-hmm.
I speak for my own self with my experience.
Speak up, please.
Okay, so going with the vertical, with the angelic realm that I speak for myself, I contain it here, but then when I have to deal with it, the horizontal, is extremely difficult because you're living on this planet Earth with a lot of worldly things.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't quite mastered it, but I'm working on it, is to tell Saturn, I'm going to take that ring and I'm going to fit you the way I want you to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Then that system or that worldly ways or the way we're programmed to tell me this is how I have to live. So it's really a battle within me, but I've finally grasped that ring,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm bending it the way I want it to dance with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I can keep that divine light and that beam of that vertical with me while I'm still spinning around on the outer part.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not quite easy, but it's a lot of work. You know.
Yes, Saturn, from my experience of him, he's the master of manifestation. He follows Jupiter, which is our grand vision. Once we have a vision, then Saturn says, okay, how are you going to implement that vision? Jupiter is freedom. We have this expanded sense of freedom and personal choice. But within, what's the yang inside of freedom? Yin is the openness of freedom. What would be the yang aspect of freedom? Making a choice.
That free will.
Freedom isn't complete until you do something with it and make a choice. When you make the choice, then Saturn takes over and says, okay, you've made the choice. Now this is the discipline required in order to achieve that goal, to implement the vision in a particular way. So the rings around Saturn say this is the boundary within which you function in order to manifest. If you don't choose, many times Saturn's associated with limitation. If you don't limit yourself to that particular choice, you're not going to manifest anything. So manifestation requires the courage to limit yourself to a particular choice And then when you've done that, then the rings of Saturn will give you the boundaries of that realm of manifestation and empower you to actually bring it into tangible form.
Right.
So what you're talking about is actually the Uranian influence beyond Saturn,
Right.
where you're not dominated by the horizontal, but you become a genius inventor, a collective awakener within the boundaries of Saturn. So you don't want to bend Saturn. You don't want to mess with Saturn. He's doing his own thing. Yeah. But he's actually the gift of the ability to manifest.
So it's Uranus that's the one I meant.
Uranus, yeah. And he's the one who kind of throws a monkey wrench into the whole gear and says, we're going to break this whole cultural sorcery thing and do something different or new. Connected with your team and your guides, then you act as a lightning bolt and awakener. But I love Saturn for manifesting. If you ever want to accomplish something, he's your trainer. If you want to break a world record, you hire a badass trainer. It's not going to give you any compassion in that sense of demanding you become the best you can be. And that's his gift. Go ahead.
So you mentioned that on the 5th, Mercury goes into retrograde. And
Mhm.
on the 6th, I think you mentioned that Neptune comes into the sign.
Oh.
So I guess what I wanted to understand is, this is my birthday, so I wanted to see what the energies are around those days for me.
March 5th is your birthday? Well, I'd have to look at your whole chart in order to, and then do your solar return to answer that fully.
Okay.
But March 5th, we're in the dark of the moon, and we can't really know when your solar return actually occurs until we run it.
Okay.
And Mercury is stationing retrograde. When a planet is stationing either retrograde or direct, it's at a perfect standstill. It's like it slows down and says, okay, now you can see me fully because I'm standing here. I'm not even moving. Try to focus on a deer that's running through the forest, but when it stops, it's like you get a full view of it. And the Mercury stationing in Pisces on the 5th is saying that your crown chakra is being really opened to the beauty and power of love flowing through you, and that you are an incarnation of the angelic realms. And the angelic presences, it's like a visitation energy. Really stand there clearly and consciously and purposely for whatever stage or step you're to take next.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something happening on the 6th, March 6th?
Yeah, that's the new moon with the sun conjunct Neptune.
Okay, and what does that mean?
And
The
Mercury and Uranus entering Taurus.
Sun, the sun conjunct Neptune. What energies does
That would be becoming aware of the fact that you are an immortal soul. You are a divine incarnation of love manifest in this world.
Not much.
Yeah, you're an angelic presence. That's the sun conjunct Neptune.
Thank you.
What happens on the 12th?
Well, that whole period of time is just kind of mind-blowing.
What degree is Pluto on the node? You mentioned the south node of Pluto.
South node of Pluto is around 19 or 20 degrees of Taurus, Capricorn. Its north node is 20 degrees or 18 Cancer. And also I forgot to mention that the United States of America also has Chiron in Aries. So its whole reputation for being the land of the free, Chiron and Aries, where you can do your own thing, is embedded in its own chart. And by 2022 or 3 or 4, Chiron will make its return to itself. Pluto makes its return to to U.S. Pluto in early 20s, and then Uranus makes its return to the U.S. Uranus in the late 20s. So, I mean, the 2020 is just mind-blowing for the United States. Once we get through this particular demonstration of what not to do, then we can get on with what to do.
Does astrology-wise, does it say anything about
if we'll have a woman president?
Well, with Uranus and Taurus, ruled by Venus, we're already getting, since last year, the heads up of the women taking their power and rising now. So that's definitely a big possibility.
So how can we use Thor's hammer to our advantage?
Find your lion's roar. So that each one of us has a lion or a lioness within us that, when challenged, will show up brilliantly and brightly and boldly without any qualms and shine our light. That's the Leo aspect of Varuna, the firelight within. Another question? Okay.
So, is it fair to say that, so you started saying we're in the Piscean portal, vertical alignment, soul star chakra activation. So
Mhm.
is it fair to say that humanity is going to be opening up to a much more mystical way of being?
The opportunity is certainly here.
The opportunity
Yeah.
is presenting itself.
It has been since 2012. But this is a particularly powerful opportunity, yeah,
Right.
for new levels of heightened awareness and compassion manifesting here on planet Earth. Yeah.
And so our job is just to be the example of that.
Yeah, watch for the signatures of the spirit and the omens that present themselves as opportunities. Become aware of that angelic aspect of yourself and how it moves through the world with greater compassion. This can present itself, as a personal relationship that just blows your heart wide open. That makes you aware of a deeper level of the love buried inside of you that you couldn't find on your own. So, call in a catalyst. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.